and it shows that 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2009 statistics. It's really difficult for me to identify that its GDP has increased over the years or it went down. In 2006, it was at 5.8%, and in 2007, it went up to 6.3%. That's an increase. But in 2008, it was at 6.10%. That went down. And in 2009, it was at 4%. One of the biggest factors why it went down to 4% in 2009 was due to recession. Due to recession, Indonesia lost 28% of their export, and 71% of their import was down. Okay. Looking at the graph, I went down to the history, and I wanted to figure out what were their economy growth during the 80s and the 90s. During the 1980s, economic growth was only 7%, and in 1997, it went down to minus 13%. In 2004, which is immediately after 7 years, it was at 3.8%. That's a huge growth of 3.8%. One of the biggest reasons why the economy has been fluctuating over the years is due to tourism, which the country has been facing for a lot of years. Second is due to the natural disasters. There's a lot of natural disasters which happen. One of the statistics from population in Indonesia says that over the past 2-3 decades, Indonesia had 293 events of natural disasters, and they lost 2 billion in the economy. Moving to the Indonesian export markets. Japan is the biggest export market for Indonesia. There are free trade agreements between the two countries, and USA, Singapore, and China are also doing a great job. They're close. Singapore and US are close to 9.5%. China is at 8.5%. China has already started free trade agreements with Indonesia. Indonesia total export in 2008 was 137 billion. One of the biggest things which I observed was Australia, USA, Singapore, and China, and South Korea, and Malaysia too. They all fall under APEC. APEC is basically Asia-Pacific economic countries. There are trade agreements with Indonesia. Indonesia has free trade membership with all these countries. There are free trade memberships with WTO, World Trade Organizations. There are free trade memberships with ASPEC, which is also one of the leading economic issues. Export commodities include oil and gas, electrical appliances, plywood, and textiles. And as I mentioned, China is also a growing export market for Indonesia. Again, almost the same countries. China, Japan, US, and Singapore, Malaysia are all the top lines for the import markets. One of the biggest reasons why import and export are the same ratio, almost the same for Indonesia, is because due to the membership which it has between the countries, most of the countries, all these countries are basically members for ASPEC, and it's APEC, ASEAN, and WTO. Okay, moving down to the cultural considerations. Indonesians have a unique style of communication. They tend to speak indirectly, so it's up to the listener to catch the few little words they speak. And it's very common in the business and where Indonesians generally tend to speak very directly, and it causes a lot of troubles for people moving from North America to how to treat business. Business gifts. Business gifts include, they're pretty conservative. When you talk about liquors, alcohols, it is strictly not acceptable to the community of Indonesians, because liquors and alcohol, it comes down to the religious barriers, and because most of the population is Muslim, Muslims don't allow alcohol in the burmese. Muslim practices are followed in the workplace. This is very common to me because when I was in Saudi Arabia, I had the chance to see that teachers, professors, doctors, and professionals in the workplace, they have 5 minutes time during the whole day to go down and pray during the job. So if they're professionals, they're working from 8 to 5. There's a period that from 12 to 1 that they go down to the prayer room and they pray. And this is very common, which we often don't find in Canada.